Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really fascinating, I think. It feels personal, but also universal. We're talking about your music taste, your memories, and, well, basically who you are. We've been digging into this article, Your Taste in Music is a Time Machine. And our mission today is really to unpack why. Why do certain songs just grab you and pull you back in time so powerfully? Okay, so straight away, this source hits you with a big idea. Music isn't just sound.
Right.
It argues it functions like an actual time machine inside your head.
Yeah, it's not just a reminder, is it? It's more like a reconstruction.
Exactly. It reconstructs the whole experience, brings back the emotional intensity. It's vivid. It makes this comparison like a photo captures what you saw.
Yeah, the visual.
But a song captures how you felt. It preserves the emotional state, the psychological vibe of that moment.
And when you hear it again, the brain apparently pulls up not just the event, but the feelings, the surrounding.
Maybe even smells, the article mentions.
Right, and the people, the relationships. It's total immersion, like you said.
So how does that happen? How does this connection get wired in so strongly? The source talks about something called musical imprinting.
Yes, the imprinting idea.
It finds that our core music taste often sets pretty early, like 13 to 16 years old, that kind of window, when you're really emotionally receptive.
And that age range is key because of what's happening in the brain.
Okay.
Well, during adolescence, the brain is still, wiring itself up. It's incredibly plastic.
Yeah.
And music you connect with then seems to act almost like scaffolding, a stabilizing force for how memories are getting organized.
Scaffolding.
Interesting. And that's the root of why people in their, say, 30s or 40s feel such an intense pull towards their teenage anthems.
So it's deeper than just, oh, I like this song.
Much deeper. It's not simple nostalgia. It's actually baked into that early brain chemistry. The article uses this great metaphor. It's like writing software into your brain's operating system right at the start. It becomes fundamental, hard to overwrite, always kind of running underneath.
Okay, that software idea is powerful. But let's get into the mechanics. How is the brain actually doing this emotional time travel? What's going on in there?
Well, the source points to specific areas working together, primarily the amygdala.
The emotion center, right?
Exactly. And the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory formation and recall.
Okay.
And what studies show is that hearing familiar music activates both of these regions simultaneously. They light up together.
Oh, so it's a linked activation.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating is they light up even more intensely if the song has strong personal meaning for you. So that direct, powerful connection between the music, the emotion center, and the memory center, that's what creates this feeling of being transported back. That's the emotional time travel.
I see.
And this connection is so reliable, it's actually why researchers are really exploring music therapy.
Right, for things like dementia.
Exactly. Alzheimer's, dementia, conditions where memory is impaired. Music can often unlock memories or emotional responses even when, language pathways aren't working well.
It's like finding a back door to the memory banks.
Kind of, yeah. It uses this deeply embedded musical pathway.
Okay, so building on memory, here's where it gets even more personal maybe. The article suggests the music isn't just tied to events, but to selves.
Different versions of you.
Yeah, like the songs reflect who you were at that time, or maybe even who you were trying to be.
That connects really well with something you often hear, doesn't it?
Like what?
Like when people say, I just don't like new music, it might not just be about the sound.
You mean it's deeper?
It could be, yeah. Maybe a subconscious resistance to moving on from an identity they formed, an identity tied to that older music they love. They feel comfortable there.
The article gives an example, right? Someone who's 35 but mostly listens to, say, 2000s rock.
Yeah.
They might not just like the guitars. They might be sort of unconsciously holding on to that high school self, the identity forged when that music was everything.
It resonates with that period of their life.
Which brings up that other question people often wonder about. Why do so many of us kind of slow down on finding new music after our 20s? It seems common.
Yeah, the source gives some pretty relatable reasons.
Like?
Well, just life, really. It gets busier. You've got careers, maybe family, other responsibilities. They just take up bandwidth, mental and time-wise.
Less time for crate digging, basically.
Pretty much. And also the emotional stakes feel different.
How so?
Discovering music in your teens is often tied to finding your tribe, figuring out who you are, intense social bonding. Those pressures maybe lessen a bit later on.
So you just naturally drift towards the comfort of what you already know, the established taste.
Often, yeah. People tend to retreat into that familiar musical comfort zone.
But it's not impossible to like new music as an adult, surely.
Oh, absolutely not. The article makes that clear. It is possible, but it acknowledges it can take more effort.
Effort how?
It seems to require a certain level of emotional openness, vulnerability maybe, a conscious choice to engage and let new sounds affect you, which isn't always top priority in busy adult life.
Right, you have to consciously seek it out and be open to it. But okay, here's something encouraging. The article suggests we're not just passive passengers on this musical time machine. We can influence it.
Yes, definitely. There's agency here.
It encourages actually engaging consciously with music, old and new. Not just to remember the past, but to understand, maybe even shape your present.
Exactly right. And the way this works, according to the source, is that by actively exploring new music, especially if you approach it with that emotional openness we mentioned,
Yeah.
you can actually sort of reignite that connection between music, time, and memory formation. It keeps those brain pathways active.
So you can create new imprints, even if they aren't quite as foundational as the teenage ones.
That seems to be the idea. It keeps your internal time machine well-oiled, you could say. Keeps it current.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, we've seen music acting as this really powerful emotional time machine.
Rooted in those early adolescent brain developments.
Right. And deeply tied up with your identity, your sense of self over time. And while it's super easy and comfortable to just stick with the familiar soundtrack,
The greatest hits of your youth.
yeah, this source kind of nudges us, reminds us we can choose how we engage. We can be active listeners, both backwards and forwards in time.
And I think that final thought the article offers is really quite something.
Which is,
Think about your playlist, whatever it is, on your phone, in your head as a diary.
okay,
But not just a log of songs you heard. It's a record of who you were when you were listening, what you felt, how your brain and you were changing.
wow. So revisiting your music isn't just hitting play.
It's revisiting yourself, different versions of yourself.
That really leaves you thinking, maybe tonight, when you're scrolling through your own music. Ask yourself, what does this soundtrack tell you about the different versions of you across the years?